The Minnesota Vikings released Dalvin Cook. So where is he headed? We go over the odds for that as well as D Hop update on where he might be landing. All here in the Locked On NFL podcast. Chris Carter and your boy Q on the Friday edition. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q. We're of Locked On Steelers and Locked On Raiders, but every Friday we bring you the Locked On NFL podcast with our version of it, giving you all the insights across the league on the biggest news in the NFL. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting app and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed it on YouTube. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes on the Locked On NFL podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL, and when you enter promo code LockedOnNFL, all capital letters, all one word, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. And what you'll be ordering, we'll get to that in a bit. But want to get right into the big juicy news here, Q, and that is Dalvin Cook being released by the Minnesota Vikings. Not entirely surprising, considering there had been some rumblings here and there, but still to see one of the more productive backs of the last 4 seasons of the NFL to now be a free agent, it seems astounding. And now everyone's wondering who's going to go get him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. Obviously, I think that, he's already kind of hinted that he'd like to go to Miami, put out a post that had him on a field that was clearly in Miami. So I could see him wanting to go there. But I'll say this, man. I mean, you think about the Minnesota Vikings and think about the win total that they had in 2022 with 13 wins. And now all of a sudden, Dalvin Cook is no longer going to be part of the organization. Danielle Hunter, he's apparently up on the trade block. They've already moved on from, others. Zadarius Smith, right? He's already moved on. Yeah. He's headed to, where is he in Cleveland? He went to Cleveland. So, I mean, it's just like they've lost multiple. They're going to lose multiple pass rushers. They're losing their running back. So it kind of lets you know that they realized that 13 wins that they had in 2022 wasn't really a actual kind of a reflection of who they really were, more like they kind of walked into and kind of lucked into a couple of victories. And look, any victory you can get in the NFL is a great victory. I'm not poo-pooing on that, but I think that they understand who their team really is as opposed to what the record might have said they were in 2022. And they're kind of doing, I don't want to say a rebuild, but they're kind of reevaluating their roster and getting rid of some of their higher priced contracts and bringing in some cheaper guys, some younger guys, and trying to get that roster right. So very interesting to see Dalvin Cook on the move. Really good, productive running back in the league, like you mentioned, a 4-time Pro Bowler as well. Mm-hmm. So he's obviously going to have suitors, but also it kind of tells you the value of running backs in 2023.
And we'll get to that more in the second segment, but let's talk about Dalvin Cook a little bit more specifically. The Vikings, in cutting him, he was a $14.1 million cap hit. They save $8.2 million against the cap in getting rid of him there. Or no, excuse me. Hold on. I think I looked at this backward. They saved $5.8 million. They have $8.2 million in dead cap space now. So actually, that's still. But like, I look at this and I think, man, like. We'll get into the whole value of running backs thing, but that just seems like a very important player to be getting rid of when you're trying to put something together here. But let's talk about these teams that might get Cook. Miami, of course, on the slate there that could be very interesting. Who are they your favorite, or is there someone else in play here that should be the look for that?
I think that there's going to be multiple teams that are going to look for him. But I'm interested to see what he believes his value is, right? I mean, because, again, he was a guy that was on a second contract, had a bigger number as far as the cap hit, like you mentioned, had a nice salary. So I'm thinking that he's going to probably still want to get paid really nicely. But, again, just the value of the running back isn't there. So I'm looking at Miami as like landing spot number one, right? I think if I had to bet money on it right now, I'd say he's going to end up in Miami, and they've got a lot of weapons there, so I could definitely see him fitting in really nicely. I believe the Denver Broncos have some interest in him. I think Sean Payton will do some really good things with him. Obviously, Russell Wilson is the quarterback. They have some weapons. I could see them being interested in him. Trying to think what other teams I think would be a good fit. One that I think is really sneaky good. I think the Cincinnati Bengals would be really good if they moved on from Joe Mixon and brought in Dalvin Cook. I think
that would change their offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I think that'd be a really good one. That's probably one of my favorite landing spots. Not that I think it's going to happen, but it's just a favorite landing spot because I think it'd be a sneaky good pick, right? A sneaky good move by the Cincinnati Bengals. But I think the obvious choice is that he's going to end up in Miami, especially after the post that he put out there on social media where you could see him clearly on the field there in Miami.
I feel you on that. And I get Miami, and the Bengals would make a lot of sense if they could move on from Joe Mixon and make the numbers work there. I think that's certainly something that they are that would definitely boost them. But I was thinking of a different route, and of a route that you might.
I want to hear this one. I want to hear this one.
You might be.
You're digging deep into that Chris Carter brain of yours. Let's go. I want to hear this one. I want to see if this is going to be a dollar store selection or if this is going to be some high-end selections.
All right. Hear me out.
I am. I can't wait to hear you out. As the rest of the world can't wait to hear you out either.
There's one team that lost their franchise running back over the season. You know what team I'm about to say here.
I do not.
They have another guy filling in for him who's played well recently.
Okay.
But isn't the big name that they want long term.
Okay.
What if, with $20 million in cap space, the Dallas Cowboys came a knocking for Dalvin Cook?
I think they've already been down that road of going and getting running backs with that cost big money, though, right?
But come on, Jerry Jones we're talking about here.
Yeah, but they got Tony Pollard. They love Tony Pollard.
I know they love Tony Pollard, but Jerry loves winning and he loves big moves. And this is why it stuck to me. And not necessarily that like the Dallas Cowboys would have some crazy scheme that would open up Dalvin Cook to be a 2,000-yard rusher, but because Jerry Jones sees that shiny thing on the shelf and is like, ooh, what if we added that? And sell another jersey.
Yeah, he could sell another jersey. I mean, I could lightweight see it because Jerry likes names. Jerry wants to sell jerseys like you mentioned. I just don't know if that would make sense for the team.
Hey, Q.
No, it's Q. Say Q. Now, this is the call. Dalvin. Hey, yo, D. This is Jared Jones. I'm the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'd like to put a star on your helmet. Hey, hello?
Your Jerry Jones is great.
Dalvin. Are you still there? Hello? Hey, Dalvin. You could team up with Dak. Dak Prescott. You ever heard of him?
Have you ever heard?
And Tony Pollard. You guys could be a 1-2 punch. We'll sell some jerseys. Come on to Big D. Dalvin, are you still there? Now, see, you got me.
That's how that would go. That's how that give. But I'm saying he would make that call and he would sell just like that. That's why I was thinking the Cowboys could be the sneaky pick.
I think you just wanted me to do a Jerry Jones impression because I hadn't done it in a while.
A little. Right. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Hey, I ain't mad.
But no, seriously, I'm looking more so at the teams that have the salary cap space right now. Of the most most available salary cap space in the NFL as of now, according to overthecap.com, the Bears with 32.5, the Panthers with 27.2, the Cardinals with 26.6, the Jets with 24.7, the Lions with 23.7. The Colts are over 23, and the Cowboys are the last team with $20 or more million.
That would be a good fit, only because Breece Hall is coming back from a torn ACL, and he might not be ready right away. I think Dalvin Cook would be a good fit there and give Aaron Rodgers a nice little security blanket in the run game. They obviously were able to excel in the run game a season ago with Breece Hall until he went down with that torn ACL. So I could actually see him being a fit there. And they have the cap space, obviously, as you mentioned. So that would be a good fit right there. I hadn't thought about the Jets, but that would be a good one. I like that. That's a good suggestion. Even though you didn't really suggest it, you just threw it out there.
I threw it out there, but I was looking at the teams there, and the Jets do make sense there. But also, whoever signs Dalvin Cook isn't signing him for a 5-year deal. He's
Right.
27. He'll be 28 when the season starts. So this is really a 1 or 2 year deal. So for Breece Hall, that could be a perfect situation there.
I like that spot. I like that.
And that's again why I was thinking the Cowboys, because like again they got $20 million in cap space. Unless you're signing Frank Clark, on which he went to the Broncos, so he's off the table. But unless you have some major move that you're planning here, that is extra money that's just sitting there right now. And I feel like if you feel like there's a guy out there that can help you right now win this year, be great with your team as you currently have it, and Dalvin Cook could boost you that way. I think someone would be willing to do that. That's again why I said the Cowboys, but the Jets are certainly Jets are in win now mode. They went and got Aaron Rodgers. They don't got time to play around. That makes a lot of sense. You sign him to a 2-year deal. You probably make it backloaded. As far as or front loaded, excuse me.
Front loaded,
front load the contract, and then if he plays great, you deal with it. You pay the piper next year. If he doesn't play great, you chop him off. You try again with another running back. But I do think that's the answer here. I want to talk though about how the NFL continues to look at the running back position here on the Locked On NFL podcast. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna keep going over this subject here. But first, before we do any of that, I want to talk to you guys about our great sponsors at Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs is the clothing line that's here to give you shorts. They're going to make you look good. And they're also going to fit you even better. They use stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer on you through the thigh and through the leg. And they give you a truly sculpted look. And that's Bird Dogs. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, except they fit a lot better. They fit better than regular shorts, and they used to be made of stiff, restricting cotton, but now Bird Dogs have fixed the issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so that you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And on the summer, when you're on the go, movement is so important, along with looking good in some Bird Dog shorts. Bird Dog also uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric, and that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL and enter promo code LockedOnNFL, LOCKEDON NFL, for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Go get some Bird Dogs at birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL. Back here on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast, Chris Carter, your boy Q. Let's take a step back from Dalvin Cook for a second. Just talk about the running back position. And you and I have talked about this before, but I think it's always important to talk about, because running back is such an important position to have on your team, to have someone that at least doesn't turn the ball over, converts in tough situations, is able to balance your roster out. And at the same time, to a lot of people, running back's not an important position because they think it's just very replaceable. And let's face it, there's plenty of teams out there that are succeeding without a key running back. I mean, the Chiefs, they drafted a guy in the first round, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They didn't even need him. They had Isaiah Pacheco, who they got out of the 7th round. And it continues to kind of poke at the value of high-end running backs on a roster. And it kind of suggests maybe that's a position you need to stop drafting for. I know people don't, because we just saw a running back go in the top 10 this year, and there are people
in the
still
top 15.
Exactly. So like there's still people that value it, but I think it's a constant debate that will not go away right now about how important the NFL running back is.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was talking about it on my radio show when Dalvin Cook was, the announcement that he was going to be released. And I was just talking about the fact that the position is so devalued, and, starting to think about it a little bit more. Kind of my realization was it kind of goes in cycles, right? I mean, there was a time when I was young where it was a bell cow running back, right? That guy had 20 to 25 carries a game. Then all of a sudden it became running back by committee. Then it was like, well, don't draft one in the first round. So what's going to happen is there's going to be some big time running back like Zeke Elliott when he first came out of Ohio State. Remember when the Cowboys drafted him super high? And you can't take a running back then. but then he burst on the scene and he was a stud. So it was like, well, let's go get our Zeke Elliott. And then it kind of faded away. So I think it's going to go like in cycles. Unfortunately, right now for running backs, it's in the cycle where they don't have the value, right? And maybe Bijan Robinson, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe those guys kind of change that up based off what they do this upcoming year. But it's just unfortunate, man, because, again, I think the running backs are so important. I think Dalvin Cook, for example, is a fantastic running back. I know he's been banged up quite a bit since he's been in the league, but, I mean, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, and he's such a key cog when he's out there cooking. You know, you see Saquon Barkley in New York, he's got the franchise tag. Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas, he's got the franchise tag. But you saw what a guy like Christian McCaffrey just did for the 49ers when they made the trade for him last year, right? Their whole offense switched up once they got Christian McCaffrey because he could do just about everything. And I'm not saying Jacobs or Saquon Barkley is on that same level, but hell, you're in Pittsburgh. You know what Najee Harris brings to the table. I mean, those guys are studs, right? But at the same time, man, what it is in the league, they're using them, letting them run. And then, oh, it's time to pay you again? Nah, no thanks. We'll let someone else pay you. You know, and my perfect example for that is back when DeMarco Murray was still a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And he led the league in rushing that year, and they ran the hell out of DeMarco Murray. Then all of a sudden he became a free agent. They're like, yeah, you can go ahead and test the market. It's all good. The Eagles give him a big, fat contract with Chip Kelly. Obviously, it didn't work out. That was a terrible fit there. Goes to Tennessee. He was okay. He got paid, but he was never the same because the Dallas Cowboys ran the hell out of him. That's just, unfortunately, where the running backs are right now. And so I don't know what Josh Jacobs, you know, obviously I'm here in Las Vegas, so talk about the Raiders on the daily and talk about Josh Jacobs and the importance that he brings to the table. And I saw him up close and personal last year. I know what he means to that Raiders organization, but he's got the franchise tag, Chris. It's $10 million guaranteed. He signs that. He wants a long-term deal, just like Saquon Barkley wants a long-term deal in New York. But if you're these teams, you know, it's almost one of those, why would we give you a long-term deal when, you know, you probably won't see the end of that contract and you're going to want more money than we want to pay you? And you just saw what happened to Dalvin Cook. So I think that with the release of Cook, that just kind of watered down the market for guys like Barkley and Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, it's going to make it tough for these guys to get paid again, like you said, because the other thing that I think that you see in some other positions like wide receiver as well, if you're not a top tier wide receiver, you're not going to get paid the big bucks because they can go find the next top tier. They can go take a swing at the next top tier wide receiver in the draft every year. I think that's part of the problem too, is that people just see like, you know what, if this guy – unless this guy is literally the captain of our offense, and very few running back, there's no running back I think is the captain, even if they're as good enough to be that. I don't think that there's an offense that is structured that way in today's NFL. And I think that's part of the problem. But I also think here, Q, and this is something that I hear Mike Tomlin talk about around the Pittsburgh Steelers, and more and more analysts starting to come around on, is that teams are slowly but steadily running the ball more. Because not everybody has Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers. Not everybody has the superstar quarterback that you just trust to sling it 50 times a game and carry you to victory. Some teams need you
gotta have that balance.
Need that balance, and I think more what you're seeing statistically is that more and more teams are running the football, and you need a guy not only to be good at that, but protect the football, don't turn the ball over in key moments, grind out those tough yards, and then have an actual balanced attack that can attack at a lot of the defenses. Because as we talk about a lot on the show too, things go in cycles, like you said before, right? Defenses for the longest time had big physical guys that was stuff to run, and as soon as the NFL switched to the passing game to being a bigger part of it, those bigger guys were at risk. They, you don't see LaVon Kirkland sized linebackers in the NFL anymore, even though LaVon Kirkland was a bad dude in coverage too. That guy could make a crazy interception. Sure. Yep. But like when it comes to you needed linebackers nowadays. Most of them are smaller, they're quicker, they're faster. And so what are teams starting to do now? They're starting to get stronger at the run game to take advantage of those types of defenses. And I think that eventually that is going to lead to running backs being a little bit more prominent in the NFL process, whether or not people will be willing to admit it when it happens.
Right. And the other thing about that is that these running backs are coming out of college and they have the ability to catch the ball as well. So now they're even more valuable. they can stay on the field. And that's why a guy like Bijan Robinson coming out of the University of Texas, the Atlanta Falcons, I should say. I almost said the Braves, the baseball team. The Falcons get him in the first round. He could run, he can catch, he could also block. So he's a 3-tool guy, right? He could do just about everything. So that just increases his value, and it kind of puts him again on that Christian McCaffrey type trajectory, and that's what makes C-Mac so valuable when he's healthy, is that he could do anything. Well, guys like Saquon Barkley could do the same thing, right? And so those are why those guys are valuable. But at the same time, so many teams are just looking at him saying, yeah, we can get one in the 4th round. Yeah, we can get one in the 5th round. The Chiefs go and get a guy in the 7th round of Pacheco and go win a Super Bowl. So it's like, yeah, there you go. But they also have a guy named Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
Dude. So, I mean, there's that. But I just hate for the running backs, man. It's unfortunate, but I'll tell you right now, don't let your kids grow up to be running backs these days, right? Let them be an edge rusher. Let them be a offensive lineman, a right tackle, left tackle. Don't matter. They're all getting paid. Let's see what other. Obviously, quarterback, wide receiver. Don't be a linebacker. They're not getting paid. Safeties aren't getting paid. Corners, if you're a really solid corner, you can get paid. But linebackers aren't getting paid. Running backs ain't getting paid. And let's see who else. Safeties, that's right. Safeties aren't getting paid. So those 3 positions, don't check those boxes. Check anyone else though, and you're good to go.
I think that certainly is part of the reality of today, is that the markets. But I wonder what it will take to change those markets. We'll see as time presses on in the NFL. But we got to talk some DeAndre Hopkins, because we got some odds from our friends at FanDuel. We want to go over with you guys about where he'll land. Will he land with your team? Find out when we talk about it next. Back here on the Locked On NFL podcast, Chris Carter, your boy Q, continuing our Friday episode here. Q, want to talk about the DeAndre Hopkins situation, because that one has been known. It's been something that we were well aware of. He's going to be on a new team this year, and our friends at FanDuel.com, who sponsor sponsor a lot of shows here on the podcast network, they have their opening lines right now. I guess not their opening lines, but their lines right now for the top 4 teams to get DeAndre Hopkins. The Chiefs and the Bills are tied at plus 300. The Jets are at plus 600. And the Chargers are up by plus 950. What is the best bet here? Or is there another team that you think you would take the money on to get in a different spot?
Well, the Cleveland Browns weren't listed. I think that they're a dark horse. Like, I wouldn't say that they're the favorite, but I do think that they might be in the conversation because they have Deshaun Watson. I know he's been publicly, kind of pounding the table, wanting to get DeAndre Hopkins in Cleveland, and that'd be a hell of a combination, him and Amari Cooper, and they have other weapons, obviously, and I think that would be a really good one for Deshaun Watson to get his running buddy again, Bill O'Brien. He sent him to Arizona when they were both still in Houston, just because Bill O'Brien just wasn't a very good head coach and didn't really like DeAndre Hopkins, the guy. And so he sent him for a cup of coffee, like David Johnson and someone else, which was ridiculous. But Arizona benefited for a while. So I think Cleveland would be a spot that you could see DeAndre Hopkins. But out of those teams that you mentioned, out of the Chiefs, Bills, Jets, and Chargers, really, I mean, the Chiefs and Bills both at plus 300. I think both of those teams could use them. And really, it's funny. The Chiefs, they could use anybody, but they just make everybody so good, right? And so if the Chiefs were to get him, it'd almost be like a cheat code. But I could see him going there if he wants the opportunity to win, right? You had DeAndre Hopkins and Patrick Mahomes on that squad. All of a sudden, the sky's the limit. And Buffalo, I think, would have a good opportunity as well if they added him. I still think probably the best spot for him and the chance to win a championship and really kind of show out would definitely be in Kansas City. But as a guy that covers the AFC West and the Raiders, I don't want to see that. So I'd rather him go to Buffalo. So
don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Right. Exactly. There's no reason to go ahead and set the Raiders up for more failure. They don't need all that. They don't need that drama.
Listen, the Raiders got enough drama. Y'all get that all the time. But even outside of the Raiders, I wonder how much this would actually even be able to work. The Chiefs right now, as it stands on overthecap.com, have the second smallest amount of cap space open with $652,000. So not even $1 million.
Even better. But as FanDuel.com points out, they're still plus 300. So what that tells me is if they want to make it happen,
they'll make it happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So I like that. I will say this, as we talked about having Dalvin Cook go to the Jets, that might be a good location. I know they have a plethora of receivers. I already know, Aaron Rodgers brought all the homeboys. It's Aaron Rodgers and all the homeboys there. But sitting there at plus 600, and if they were to go and get DeAndre Hopkins and have that dude with those big hands catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, and then you have Garrett Wilson there as well. I mean, you've got some real deal options, right? I mean, I know that Alan Lazard is there, Randall Cobb is there. I mean, you have some weapons. I don't know how they'd make it work as far as if there's enough footballs to go around, but I'm sure that they would have a fun time trying. So that would be a good location. I mean, really, and let's be honest about the situation, Chris. There's 31 teams in the league that could use DeAndre Hopkins. There ain't 31 teams that are going to go after him, but there's 31 teams in the league that could use him.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy is still a premier talent in the NFL. I do wonder what people value as far as paying for it. And like this is the whole thing. Wide receiver is not a dead market. Like as much as like if you're a mediocre wide receiver or even a slightly above average wide receiver, you still don't get the guaranteed contract to set you up for life unless you're with an organization that just really likes you and thinks that you're a fit with a franchise quarterback. But receiver, that could be a real challenge there, man. I see DeAndre Hopkins as a guy who's going to immediately come onto a team and establish a connection with a quarterback, make big plays for them. I'm looking at other teams here and I'm wondering.
I mean, he went and took a free agent visit with the Tennessee Titans, and I think that that's a terrible fit.
I just don't see that.
If he wants to win, why the hell would he go to Tennessee, right? I mean, they might be starting Will Levis for all we know. I wouldn't go to Tennessee on your dime, let alone on my own, right? So I don't think that that's
shout out to our boy Ty.
But there's plenty, like I said, there's plenty of teams that could use him. I just don't know if his main interest is trying to win. He's mentioned before Buffalo. He's mentioned before the Chiefs. I thought the Ravens would be a good spot too. I know they got Odell Beckham Jr., but I think that would be a good spot. Give Lamar Jackson another weapon. I mean, again, I can make a case for so many teams. Hell, I could make a case for the Steelers. Why not? Right? I mean, I could just add another weapon for Kenny Pickett. I mean, again, you can't have enough playmakers on a team. The Kansas City Chiefs prove that each and every year. They have plenty of playmakers, and they're always looking to add more.
Man. I also imagine Hopkins is looking for a team that wants to compete right now. Like, this isn't a guy who just wants to take a contract and just stink. So, well,
if he wants to stink, go to Tennessee. If he wants to stink, go to
Chicago.
Yeah, go to Chicago. I've heard Detroit as a spot that he could possibly go to, right? And they're the team that everyone's talking about. I'm not high on them right now. I'm going to wait to be late to the party. I'm not going to be the first guy there. Nobody wants to be the first guy to arrive to the party, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I mean, there's so many teams, man. And again, if winning is the value, then it's like the Chiefs, it's the Bills, it's the Jets, it's the Chargers. That makes sense. Cleveland, maybe Cleveland could compete. There's, like I said, DeAndre Hopkins, even at his age right now, I think is still a hell of a weapon, and he's going to make immediately those teams better.
I hear you. Your pick one team right now. Who is it going to be?
I'm going to go. I'm looking at these. I'm looking at the FanDuel.com lines real quick. I'm gonna say Buffalo at plus 300. I'm gonna roll with the Buffalo Bills, and I would have said Kansas City, but I cover the AFC West, and I don't feel like that foolishness. So I'm gonna roll with Buffalo. They're not in the AFC West, and I think it'd be really good. Josh Allen's on the cover of Madden, right? They got Stephon Diggs. Why not go get another weapon in DeAndre Hopkins? He's got the big hands. I'll never forget after I shook his hand one time after being in the Texans locker room, how damn big it was. It's like he swallowed my hand and half my arm, right? So I mean, it's just. It's that dude. There's a reason why he catches everything, because he's got a baseball glove on his hands for hands. It's ridiculous, man. But that's why he goes up and makes it happen. So I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills at plus 300 according to FanDuel.com.
Yeah, that's my safe bet too. I feel like the Bills. I also feel like the Bills are in a win now, but like
they better be. Their window's closing.
Exactly. Their window's closing. And here's the thing, like the Chiefs, I think there's some elements of the Chiefs that are going to soften up soon. And like Patrick Mahomes will still be there, but they won't be the same threat that they have been. I think they'll need to rebuild some of the other parts of the roster. But I think the Bills, they don't have the luxury of 2 Super Bowls like that the Chiefs do. Like if the Chiefs were to go into a funk for 4 years, I think Chiefs fans would be fine. I think they'd be
I don't think they're going to go in a funk, though. I'll tell you that.
I don't think they are either.
I don't think they're
But I'm
going
saying
anywhere.
But I'm saying if they did, I think that they've earned the real estate. They've earned the capital.
Right. Yeah.
The Bills have not.
No.
They have not had their moment in the sun. They haven't even made it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And maybe it takes an aggressive move to just say, hey, this year, this is going to be it.
Going all in. I'd like to see him go to Baltimore, too. I really would. I think Lamar Jackson.
I think it would be interesting.
His new offensive coordinator and Todd Monken. I think that would be really cool just to show that he doesn't have to run around the yard. He can sling it around, and having Odell Beckham Jr., having DeAndre Hopkins, having these other weapons. They went and drafted Zay Flowers. I mean, man, I'm also looking at, a fantastic offense if they were to go and pull that move. So I'd be down for that as well. But I don't know. I think that the steam is kind of wore off of the Baltimore Ravens as a landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins.
There you have it. We both say that the smart money will be on the Bills getting DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see what actually happens here. Q, thanks so much for always being my co-host here in the Locked On NFL podcast in the Friday edition. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Well, you can always follow me on Twitter at your boy Q254. That's where I put everything out. Locked On Raiders, Locked On Bets, Locked On NFL. You can find everything I do there at on my Twitter account at your boy Q254. And I'll tell you this, for anyone watching on YouTube, I just had a massive cramp in my calf. I don't know how it happened, but all of a sudden it just kicked. I don't know what in the hell happened, but it's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden you have a cramp and you have no idea how you got it. Yeah, that's what just happened. But I somehow smoothly eliminated that thing from my calf. So if it looked like I was sitting like a kid in the damn dentist chair or something like that, it's because I was trying to get this stupid cramp out of my calf. But I'm good now. So we're cool. So, hey, anyway, if people are trying to get a hold of you, Chris, and check out your work, how can they find you?
You can find me at Carter Critiques, where I also had a Charlie horse the other day. It was very painful. It's the worst. I need to hydrate more. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, not dealing with Charlie horses, at Carter Critiques. You can find my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Yeah, man, we need that water. We need that water. But you can also read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette at post-gazette.com, where I cover all things Pitt athletics. You can also find me on the Locked On Steelers podcast, just like you find Q on Locked On Raiders, and you find all of our hosts giving your team every day, breaking things down. Thanks again for the Locked On NFL podcast and checking us out. Subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcasting app. Back Monday, capping up the weekend and what happened as teams roll into minicamp here in the NFL season.